As this started off as a school project, I started with a lot of research before I settled on a design. I then mocked this design up in a CAD software. I started building the feet of the speaker, which I cut on a metal lathe out of a solid aluminium tube. After this, I started to design the plate which the speakers would be fitted to. I cut this out on a computer-controlled router. I found an old pair of shelf speakers and took the speakers and electronics out of that. I then designed these spacers to stop the cloth which would be protecting the speakers from touching the speakers. I wanted the design to look really futuristic, so I made the corner pieces out of right-angled aluminium, which I joined using jigs that I made from scrap wood. I then polished them up, joined them together with little other secondary aluminium right angles, and then put a piece of oak to give it a more classy feel in the centre. I didn't have enough material to cover the face of the speaker, so I had to stretch it using various pieces of metal and pipes. I then joined my two sections of cloth with a piece of oak, so it would cover the whole face of the speakers and fit in with the rest of the design. I then started designing the back plate on a CAD program. I used the same size sound holes as the original shelf speakers had. I glued leatherette onto the back section using contact adhesive. I then used the same sound holes as the original speakers, cut them down a bit with a Stanley knife. I think it's more aesthetic than any actual use. I then started constructing the sides, adding bar optics so I could dispense alcohol. I wanted to be able to see the electronics, so I cut one of the sides out of clear perspex on a laser cutter, so I thought that would look good. I then started building the top. I used a pitch frame cutter to make the main sections out of oak. I then used a table router to cut a groove along the inside of all of the pitch frame. I made it so it stuck out slightly by half an inch on every corner. I then planed a piece of plywood very thin so that it would fit in the grooves left in the pitch frame. I then used contact adhesive to glue leatherette around the outside. This was held on through various makeshift methods. I then started to tidy up the inside and all the bits which would be seen through the perspex window. I drilled a hole in each of the four corners. I then inserted a screw thread which was made out of a bolt which would connect to the feet I made in the first step. I had an amplifier with two 50-watt outputs and an Arduino board which I'd use to control all the lights. I had a rechargeable battery and two outputs where I could charge a phone or anything, which is powered by a USB device. All of this was attached to the perspex side frame I built originally. I built two simple switches, one on, off and charge, and the other one which would turn the lights on. I built it so you could see all the original circuitry from the shelf speakers and all the capacitors and stuff through the perspex side window. This is the code I used to program the lights for the Arduino board. I attached the battery to a block of wood which I then drilled down and then supported the rest of the top. I then filled it with speakerfoam insulation which I dyed black to keep the aesthetic on the outside. I added two buttons to the top and something to hold a projector. Connected up the rest of the electronics. added the top plate and the 2 final feet, glued it all together so it wouldn't move, screwed the projector onto the mount, tested it out, and yeah, this is the finished product.